you had to say, what is special about the book?
It's a very culturally appropriate book. We are not asking Indians to go and live in the blue zones. We are not asking Indians to eat the diet of a Sardinian shepherd.
We talked about 10 minutes of walk, 20 minutes of walk, cutting down dinner at 7. And I remember doing a conversation with Akshay Kumar. Good afternoon. Welcome to yet another BW Businessworld dialogue. In this series, we brought you international thought leaders, national doers, social impact leaders, authors, well-being practitioners, people who are making an impact. Today, if you have a conversation with somebody, it will be about wealth creation. It'll be about India's sending rockets to the space. It would be about drones. It would be about the war in West Asia. It could be about the youth uprising. But today, the biggest money is not just going into rockets, drones, deep tech. It is going into making sure that your and my life is longer. Our lifespans are longer and better. Longevity is a frontier that humankind is looking to conquer. Today, we are going to talk to a practitioner, a futurist. He calls himself a medical futurist, healthcare practitioner, practicing physician, Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, who's come from Chennai to have this conversation. Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, thank you for talking to Businessworld. And the reason we are doing it, because Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran has written this book called The 100-Year Blueprint, How to Live Till 100 Years, an Indian Doctor's Guide to Longevity. And he said that this is served with science, sense and sarcasm. So we'll talk to him about how to live till 100, how to create a blue zone in India, if at all that is possible. So first, let me start by asking Dr. Gnanasekaran, why do we need another book on longevity and living long? There are so many books. What is unique about your book? Why should one read it?
First of all, thank you for having me, Dr. Batra. It's such a privilege to be on the show. And I've seen a lot of your work and they speak for themselves, and it's a privilege to be here. To answer your question, why do we need another longevity book? I'm saying this is India's only longevity book. All the other longevity books that have been written have not been written for Indians or South Asians. We have a very different body as compared to the Westerners. Our genetic makeup is different. Our food is different. Our nutrition is different. Our habits are different. The way we go about our lives is very different from the Westerners. We get diabetes and heart attacks a decade or 15 years earlier than the Westerners. So any cut, copy, paste blueprint that has been written for the Westerners is not going to help Indians. And India is the non-communicable disease capital as of now. We are the diabetic capital of the world. Close to 68% of all deaths in India today are because of non-communicable diseases. It is high time we have our own manual, and which is why the book came about.
Good. And if you had to say, what is special about the book?
So I would say it's a very culturally appropriate book. We are not asking Indians to go and live in the blue zones. We are not asking Indians to eat the diet of a Sardinian shepherd. We are not asking Indians to take cold plunges or saunas, or we are not asking them to do mTOR inhibitors. We are asking Indians, go about the life that you are living. Just make fine little tweaks here and there. And that is enough for you to get the foundational blocks of life that will help you live till 100, disease-free.
Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, clearly it is not just about the length of the lifespan, it is about the quality of the lifespan. How do you live healthier, disease-free and a fulfilling life? Even if you are alive, but if your mobility is restricted, or if you have an Alzheimer's or a Parkinson's, it's really not the best way. So I hope we focus on not just the 100-year number, but the quality of life between, say, 70 and 100. How does one make his or her life better in these years while he or she is in the 40s or 50s?
So Dr. Batra, when you look at life expectancy of India, in the 1900s we were hovering around 35. And then just prior to COVID, we approached 72. And then after COVID, it took a small dip. Right now, we are at 70, with the men having a life expectancy of 68 and women around 72. So what we find is that modern medicine has definitely added years to our life. But what it has failed to do, or what we have failed as a population to do to ourselves, is have we added life to those years.
Sure.
So by the way things are looking, perhaps in another couple of decades, the life expectancy of India would be somewhere around the late 80s or even the early 90s. And the main problem we have with this is the numbers are adding up, but the quality of life isn't. So fragility, frailty, and falls are the biggest cause of sickness or illness in people who are living longer. Not to mention what the factors that you stated as well, dementia, and then other associated things that come
And
with
lots
frailty.
of fatalities are happening because somebody who's 80 fell in the bathroom and had some fracture which restricted his or her movement, and then had a kind of spiral impact on both the morale and mobility. So clearly, we'll come to that, how to make the quality better. But you call yourself a medical futurist. Aren't you a practicing doctor, a physician? I know you are a co-founder in a
Longevity
health
startup.
tech or a longevity tech startup. But tell us, our readers, what is a medical futurist?
So, Dr. Batra, I would probably say when people call me a medical futurist, I don't imagine myself to be a soothsayer or an astrologer gazing into a crystal ball. But what I basically do is I try and understand health demography, and I try to understand the trends that we are looking at, like life expectancy or the fall in fertility rates, the silver economy that may eventually come to India, like Japan or South Korea, where we may be living to 90s, but we'll be a nation of old men, where because the children, already the fertility rates in the south, in Tamil Nadu is 1.3, which is well below replacement rates. We are degrowing as a population. So if we have to keep up the GDP, we have to be not just an agile population, not a fragile population when we are in the 70s and 80s. We also have to look after each other and be the buttress or the support that each of us need. The community is going to be of elders. This elder economy or silver economy is going to contribute to the GDP of the country, which means we have to keep ourselves productive, complete mental health, stress-free, and most importantly, functional, wherein we are not confined to the hospital bed or the home bed for the last 20 years of our life.
Dr. Gnanasekaran, I have read your book. It's a lovely book. I have read almost all books on health, longevity, how to improve sleep, why sleep is important, mobility, restoring your health, restoring your body markers. But the way you pitched it right at the start, that this is an Indian book from an Indian practitioner with Indian insights for Indians. And you say it is served with science, sense, and sarcasm. Why is sarcasm an important medical ingredient?
I understand being in business, you would agree when I say that the best way to look at failures is to laugh at them. Only then can you invent the next success. I think as people, we take ourselves too seriously. We need to laugh at our wrongdoings. We need to understand where we are being mad. And if we laugh at it heartily, I think that is the first step to make a change in the process. I think that is when the steps and the wheels start clicking together in the brain and say, Acha, so this is something that is silly that I'm doing. So let me have a hearty laugh at it. But the next moment after I have that laugh, I'm going to do something to change it. That is why I think we need to approach this with a bit of sarcasm.
And again, the work you do and what comes out in the book, the 100-year blueprint, it is at the intersection of clinical medicine and longevity science. Give us your top 3 findings which can help a person live till 100.
Right. So I trained as a radiologist. I also had one of the largest radiology teams for Apollo in the south, where we're bringing about centralization of radiology. One thing that I see in my MRI scans or my CT scans over a period of time is this metabolic dysfunction or the deposition of visceral fat that we so evidently miss in Indians. Because Indians, we have something called as a thin fat phenotype. We may look outwardly very thin, but we accumulate dangerous amounts of fat around our tummy. And this is very visible on the scans. This is what causes the insulin resistance, spikes up the inflammation, and causes all the non-communicable diseases. I would say what we can not deny today, I mean, from the experience I have gleaned in various positions that I hold in longevity startups, as well as women health, as well as being a board member of some healthcare organizations, is this. The problem is huge. We are right now completely blind to it, because non-communicable diseases is what is causing a number of those sick years in people who are living longer. We need to address that, and the time to do that is now, is what I feel.
Again, for third time in this conversation, you have said that Indians are living longer, but not necessarily better quality. How do you solve this paradox?
So I think we need to bring about a few important changes in the way we look at our long years. A is the body. How do you ensure that your body keeps up with you as you age? One is muscle. Muscle is a non-negotiable. If my patients ask me, why do I have to go to the gym when I am 60? I say, like, imagine that the muscle is gold in your Swiss bank. It is going to protect you. It's the best insurance that you can have against frailty. The better muscle quality you have, better muscle mass you have, lesser number of falls you are going to have. Your balance is going to be better. The small slip that you had that may break your femur or your vertebra will not do so. Your bone density could be better. And that is one non-negotiable, wherein we need to build more muscle as a population. It is difficult for Indians because our diets are already quite carb rich. We love our carbs, be it the wheat in the north or the rice in the south. We love our carbs, and most of our breakfasts and lunches and dinners are carb disasters, where the protein intake is very less.
I know there's a chapter on protein intake, and I read it carefully, and I hope I can learn from the reinforced knowledge I have. I know it, but sometimes it requires reiteration and inspiration. Now let's coming. You say Indians are unique in their genetic markers and also in the kind of food we consume. You just talked about it. And the Indian phenotype is unique.
Yes.
You, in your book, in some way are challenging the blind application of Western medical guidelines for Indian bodies. Give us an example of 2-3 such Western guidelines that may or may not work for Indian bodies.
So one is the obesity cutoff, body mass index, and the obesity cutoff that we use for Westerners. Like above 25 is overweight, above 30 is obese, does not hold true for Indians, because Indians can be 25 and still the BMI could be 25 and still they could have dangerous visceral fat. So what cutoffs we need to use for Indians? One example is that we use waist circumference, which again for the Western population is 90. But for Indians, for men, it is 85, and for women, it is 80 centimeters. So waist circumference is one marker which we have to use widespread for Indians, not the body mass index, when we think about accumulation of dangerous visceral fat, which is a cutoff that we need to change. Second thing is about diabetes and heart disease, because Indians develop diabetes and heart disease 10 to 15 years before their Western counterparts. Preventative health screenings have to look for fasting insulin to track insulin resistance in Indians as early as their late 20s. But we have a situation where the average Indian refuses to go for a preventive health check until something seriously goes wrong in their early 40s. So these are some of the examples where we need to wake up and say these are the rules that apply to us.
And let me go back to your introduction of yourself in the book of being a medical futurist. You're a practicing physician. You are now an author. You're also a startup co-founder. How do you cross-pollinate all these?
So being in the industry, I understand that the conventional methods of healthcare delivery are not going anywhere away. Even today, patients prefer seeing doctors face to face and meeting them face to face. So no amount of telehealth. Like, to tell you an example, during COVID, the teleconsultations jumped by about 300%. Everybody was prophesizing a world wherein the doctors would never even get to meet the patients. But COVID went off, and then everybody wants still to want, because medicine is
personalized.
It's very personalized. It's a conversation between a doctor and a patient. No amount of startup disruption or no amount of telehealth is going
And
to
there are
take that away.
placebos. The doctor telling you you're okay, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Is kind of a placebo.
Absolutely. So it's like that needs to be there. So what I bring from my conventional healthcare practice to the startup ecosystem is, hey, it is great to have the head in the clouds, but sometimes conventional modes of healthcare delivery and the patient-doctor interface should be something that we should never mess about, because that is a gold standard.
And Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, there are 6 sections in your book, 24 chapters. Which one is your most favorite section and which one is your most favorite chapter?
I would say I really enjoyed writing the section on muscle movement and metabolism, and in that my favorite chapter is about the one where I talk about cardiac exercises, or which is the best cardio. Like when we talk about best cardio, we talk about walking, running, jogging. So I prove with evidence and with the available research that the best cardio is the racket sports.
Yes, I read.
Yes, so tennis.
And I started thinking I should start playing one.
Yes, so tennis or pickleball or badminton, they add close to a decade to life, and this has been proven in multiple studies.
And why is that? Because they stretch every part of the body?
One is
simplistically put.
So simplistically put, racket sports has both level 2 and level 4 cardio. So whenever you're waiting between the serves, your heart is at level 2, which is burning fat. And then when you're running or taking a smash, it's at level 4, which means you're pushing your heart to the highest level, and that is giving your heart a good workload. So it's the best HIIT that you can have, because it mixes level 2 and level 4 cardio. But more interestingly, racket sports is where you get to bond, meet people, have friends, have that community, so that your brain stays sharp. And then that is irreplaceable in any other sport that you would have, that banter, that friendship. I think that is very important for us as we age, because that is what keeps our brains sharp without dementia.
Now, of course, we all humans want to live long, but how do you reverse heart disease or prevent, or if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, and you're 54, how do you make sure that you reverse that?
So, Dr. Batra, I would start by saying there may be multiple non-communicable diseases that we have that are causing the huge problems in India, like diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, cholesterol, and cancer. But if you look at the common cause, there is one common cause for all of this. If you were to look at a root cause, the root cause is, I feel, is insulin resistance. What has happened is, because of our carb-rich, protein-deficient diets, and because of our late-night eats, and because of a processed food intake that we take, we have a lot of visceral fat that is deposited, and this causes the root cause of insulin resistance, which also leads to fatty liver. So I think if there is one
non-alcoholic fatty liver, because that
non-alcoholic fatty liver.
There are a lot of people who don't drink, but they have serious fatty liver issues. So clearly, it is other things than alcohol that causes. Traditionally, it was alcohol.
Yes. So if we were to look at moderating, I wouldn't call reversing, because after a certain age and after a certain level of disease, we still may need to take drugs to maintain them, but those drugs, or the amount of tablets that you can take, can considerably come down. We can moderately manage these diseases much better in the 50s if we were to do one thing, which is to try and mitigate our insulin resistance. And the way to that is get good sleep, build more muscle, move after every meal, stop the last meal at 7.
Yeah, you say 10 minutes of walk after the meal can bring down insulin by 20%.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So clearly, that's one thing I'll start doing. I started thinking of playing. I haven't played any sport in a long time. So really, those are very practical suggestions. Now, you talk about Indian disease trap and the non-communicable diseases that you've talked about just now. And you talked about our modern sedentary lifestyle. What is the way out for a busy executive, for a CEO? I mean, a lot of people go to the gym, but what are simple things one can do? You already talked about sleep. You talked about intake of protein. You talked about cutting down on carbs. Right. You talked about taking racket spots. You talked about 10 minutes of walk, 20 minutes of walk, cutting down dinner at 7. And I remember doing a conversation with Akshay Kumar 6-7 years back, and he said, Anurag, after 6, I zip my mouth. You know, so clearly those make sense. But give us, a lot of people say we don't have the time. How do you respond to that?
So I've had a couple of, I still have a couple of high-profile founders or CEOs who are patients, and the first thing I tell to them is, when you get a phone call, get up from that chair and walk while you take the call, because I call this the modern graveyards, the chair.
They say sitting is the new smoking.
Sitting is the no smoking, because it says it is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, sedentariness. So if we had two problems that the whole of India has, which I can line up at the very top, one is sleeplessness, the second is sedentariness. So I tell the people, if you have to take a call, walk and take the call, and try to convert your desk to a standing desk if possible. And then fidget a lot. I remember my grandma telling me when I was a kid, you shouldn't shake your hands between, shake your legs or fidget during meal times. But then that is a great way of burning calories. It's called NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is we burn calories not by exercising but by fidgeting or just shaking or moving about. So something even as simple as this, shaking the legs, can help quite a bit.
Is it possible if somebody loses 20 kgs of weight and follows all that, he or she can enhance the quantity and quality of their lives?
Absolutely. So if you are pre-diabetic, or if you are a very early diabetic where your pancreas reserves are pretty good, I think it is possible to reverse diabetes by following all these things. If you have grade 1 or grade 2 fatty liver and your lipids are awry, then it is, if it's a very early stage, I still think it is possible to, I have seen my patients reverse with just lifestyle modifications. So that being said, the hypertensive drugs that you take can also come down in volume and dosage. So all of that is possible, but all it requires is a little effort from our end.
Discipline.
Discipline.
Consistency. Now you talk about how the body ages in the book. You talk about biology, you talk about joints, hormones, organs, and wear and tear of the organs inside. How does one minimize this wear and tear? And as I said to you, in some cases maybe repair this wear and tear.
So when it comes to the body, particularly the joints, we all know as we grow old, the joints get creaky, stiff, and getting up from a chair feels like climbing a mountain. I think one way to rest the joints and make it stress-free is to improve the musculoskeletal system. If we have enough muscle supporting the joints, then the load on the joints and the wear and tear on the joints is going to be less. The second thing that is proven to reduce the progression of arthritis is movement. They say motion is lotion. So if you have
motion is lotion. Yeah, so it's a lubricant. It can make your life better.
So in all people with joint pain, knee pain, and arthritis, the answer is not to sit but to move. So the more movement they do, the less pain they feel.
And you talk of inflammation as a silent fire. Expand on it.
Inflammation today in Indians is caused by 2-3 things. One is our propensity to have seed oils, which is sunflower oil, safflower oil. We've migrated away from traditional oils such as groundnut oil or mustard oil. When we have these refined seed oils, the omega-3 and omega-6 balance in the body undergoes a sea change. Because of this, a lot of inflammation happens in the body. I compare inflammation to having a stove on in a house on low flame for like 20-30 years. Initially nothing happens, but then one fine day the house is going to burn down. So this is like a silent low-grade fire that is burning.
So change
inside.
The oils that you have for cooking.
Yes. Change.
And which are the oils that are better?
I would say groundnut oil or mustard oil, which is
and
not.
Ghee?
Ghee can be used not for cooking but as an addition. But one thing that we should not forget when we have these oils is that no amount of oil can be very safe. So shift to healthy oils, but it can't be more than 3 spoons a day. That is what the dietary guidelines say. Modi ji also remarked in one of his speeches that oil is leading the obesity epidemic in India. I would add to that in saying oil and refined sugar are the ones adding
Yeah,
to
you
the
talk
obesity.
about refined sugar as a drug.
Yes.
You say it's a drug.
I say sugar is a recreational drug.
Yes. I do that recreation a lot of times. They say that there are 3 broad elements to live longer: sleep well, eat less and eat right, and movement. Now, the role of sleep, I know, if the day I sleep well, I eat less, I'm more mindful, I'm kinder to myself. There's a sleep epidemic. Indians are sleep deprived. What does one do to sleep well? One is to keep your phone away.
So, you'll be surprised to know, or the audience will be surprised to know, that we are among the top few nations of sleep deprived people in the world. And that is also fueling our non-communicable diseases and insulin resistance to a large extent. Pre-diabetes is caused because of sleep deprivation. Lipid changes in the body are caused because of sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation causes inflammation in the body. So, sleep deprivation causes even plaques that build up in dementia and Alzheimer's. So, we fail to understand that sleep is the great reset. Every day the car has to go to the workshop where tinkering is done and the joints are all lubricated and made ready for the next day's journey. If we fail to go to that pit stop, then the car is going to break down on the very next day. So, I think we should treat, we are Formula 1 cars who need to get to the pit stop, 8 hours of pit stop every single day.
And how does one deal with stress? Stress is part of our modern day lives. Sleep is one way to do it. Exercise is another way. How does one deal with stress? Deep breathing, listening to music, gardening.
So, stress, chronic stress is a problem. We call it allostatic load in medical parlance, wherein this chronic stress causes a fight or flight response in all of us, and the body floods the amygdala, signals the adrenal glands to produce cortisol, and this causes a huge sugar spike in the body because it thinks the body needs fuel to fight or flight, but we are doing neither. We are sitting and happily letting the sugar swim about in our arteries, and this causes the insulin rise as well. To deal with stress, sleep well, intentionally manage stress. Meditation and spirituality are beautiful ways to manage stress. If you are a believer, you can pick up a beautiful hobby, nature bathing, as the Japanese call it, shirin-yoku. That is a beautiful way. Once a week, if you can just immerse yourself in greenery and just be there, that itself brings down the stress hormones by 30% is what a study finds. So, these are multiple ways in which we can manage stress, but more importantly, Indians as a population, I think we are very comparison bound. We have this thing called comparative misery. This person has gone farther than me, or this child is scoring better marks than me. So, this comparative misery is what adds to our anguish and stress. Sometimes I think we have to be satisfiers, where we have to be happy with what we have.
Sukoon comes from contentment. Now, Dr. Gnanasekaran, you talk of a circadian kitchen, and you say you should time your roti to your rhythm. Why not time your idli or dosa or a pasta to your circadian rhythm?
So, it makes perfect sense to time all of that to a circadian rhythm. I just use roti because dal, roti and makan, right? So, as Indians, we synonymize roti with food. But I say circadian rhythm is the internal biological clock with which we have messed about so much that it's just pulling out its hair in clumps. I think we need to reset the circadian rhythm before anything else. The moment we wake up, we need to go out and see the sun. That sets the biological clock into action. No phone for the first hour of after waking up, and then if you're having a breakfast, we have to front load the carbs and the protein, and this has to be in the morning at least after 15 hours after the last meal. Assuming we have closed the kitchen at 7 p.m. the previous day, 10 o'clock or 9:30 to 10 is the earliest you can have breakfast the next day. This way, the body has time to recover. There is something called as metabolic flexibility, where all those 15 hours the body is burning your fat instead of your carbohydrates for energy, which means the visceral fat is going to go down. And in the night, we shouldn't have our rooms with blue light. We need to have yellow light in them and try to get off devices at least an hour or an hour and a half prior to sleep.
Very difficult. Very easy if you can do it. Now, you talk about movement, muscle and metabolism. You said that's your favorite chapter in the book, The 100-Year Blueprint. How does one do resistance training in a busy corporate life? I mean, of course, lots of CXOs go to the gym, or they have home gyms, or they have personal trainers. But somebody who doesn't have access to all this, what should one do?
So the commonest brickbat that comes from the patients is that they say they can't afford a gym membership. I say, which is fine. And next thing I ask them is, how much have you spent on Swiggy this whole month? And it would run into 12,000 or 13,000. I would be flabbergasted. I would ask them, all right, so you can spend this much on processed food and eating out. Why can't you spend the same on the gym? But if for some reason they really cannot afford the gym, they can start with simple exercises at home. There are 5 cardinal movements that, that can keep a person out of the hospital bed as we grow old: push, pull, squat, hinge, and lift, carry. So these are very simple movements, like the farmers carrying grocery baskets or something heavy in both the hands and walking about, or doing squats, 20 squats, or doing wall push-ups. These things don't require dumbbells or don't require any expensive machinery. So these are simple things which still load the muscle, and these are beautiful ways to start resistance training at home. Obviously, the second step would be to buy a pair of dumbbells at home.
Right. And you talked about cardio. Why is cardio so important? And you said playing a racket sport does enhance your cardio.
Yeah. We need to, I call the heart the engine of the body, and the engine has to be in top notch. The chassis and the tires are the bones and the joints and the muscles. So while they have to be top notch, the engine also has to be top notch. So the only way you can have an engine that is going to pump and be strong till you're 100 is by giving it a good, thorough workout every single time, and that is how cardio helps your heart. It helps it pump more efficiently. It also keeps the arteries free of cholesterol plaque buildup. So I think the engine also needs servicing. The best way we can service the heart is by cardiac workouts.
And you talk about yoga and stretching. And
Definitely.
You say it's a superpower if you can do yoga and you can do stretching.
Definitely. One of the book chapters starts with saying that we exported yoga to the world and imported back pain in return. Because what has happened is we have lost so many of our day-to-day habits, like the malasana, the Indian squat, which we used to do for our daily potty. That has changed into our European closets these days. And where we used to sit cross-legged and have food on the floor, now it's become dining tables, and we even struggle to get out of those dining chairs. What has happened is we had a lifestyle in which the body underwent every single joint and every single muscle group went through the stretching motion beautifully, and that was yoga. We lost that now because we have become very westernized, which means we have to consciously put an effort into active and passive stretching our muscles. The best way to do that is to pick up yoga. If for some reason you cannot pick up yoga, then I think you should incorporate stretching exercises into your daily routine. And that keeps the body supple, agile, nimble, so that you don't lose your sense of balance as you age.
And you say again and again in the book, you can't eat like you're 20. What do you mean by that?
So I would take my own example, Dr. Batra. When I was in med school, I could eat 3 biryanis for lunch. And it so happens now I can't even finish half a biryani. Because the body changes. What the body could burn, because the body was growing up at the point of time, the calorific need was more. As we grow, the calorific need comes down. The metabolism also drops because we have lost skeletal muscle and many other things. So we need to definitely reduce our calories. We also need to look at balancing our meals as we grow old. Try to have the quarter, half rule, wherein every plate is half of veggies, quarter of protein, and quarter of carbohydrates. And I tell you, all these ingredients are available at home. we just have to take that 1 minute of conscious effort before every meal to look at the plate and say, hey, this is my protein, this is my carb, and these are my veggies, and the day is done. So as we grow older, we need to also give that gap between evening 7 p.m. to the morning 11 a.m., which I call it as an intermittent fast, where the body also cleans itself. Autophagy happens, and then the bad cells are all taken out. More importantly, the body switches a fuel switch and burns fat for energy during those long hours where we are starving the body of carbohydrates.
Now, you talk about biohacks. Give us those biohacks that can help you live better, longer, healthier.
Okay. So there are
Ice baths.
There are a number of biohacks that have become very popular amongst people, and people like Brian Johnson and many other people.
Brian Johnson is not doing well. He's popping too many
pills and autoimmune gastritis. And
yes, so I'm not sure that's the right way.
So that is exactly what I feel as well. I feel as humans, we always have that fancy for that 1% which is the most expensive, the most out of reach, while ignoring the foundational blocks.
I think foundations, just eating less, eating right, sleeping, movement, and you talked of contentment, not
happiness.
Comparing. Oh, okay, maybe comparing less, even if you can't get to zero. I think those are things that keep you healthy. Sleep, huge. So tell us about the biohacks.
So some of the biohacks are, they work really well in mice, but they don't work that well in humans. We still need more research on that. So people who are meddling with rapamycin or mTOR inhibitors or IV peptides or NAD drips or cold plunges, some of these biohacks can actually work in people if they have got their foundational blocks right. Like
so they're enhancers.
Yes. So continuous glucose monitors or ice baths in athletes or the sauna once a day, if you have gotten everything else right, can be a great top-up to an ice cream. But just having the top-up without the ice cream doesn't mean any sense. So that is what people do when they pop too many supplements and then try too many experimental things without actually fixing the foundational blocks.
Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, one of the things is about loneliness. You talk about loneliness and mental strength. How does one kind of develop mental calmness, if I can use that? It's very tough in the era of social media, constant bombardment of news, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. Social media leads to comparison, perfect lives of perfect people on the internet, the influencers, you have a quick fix for everything. So how does one keep one's mind in check and not also feel lonely? Because you feel there is a FOMO, there is a fear of missing out constantly.
I feel men are lesser equipped to handle loneliness than women. So one of the chapter jokingly mentions lonely uncles die earlier than aunties, because there is a growing body of research that say women may be slightly better adapted to handle the loss of a spouse because they have various other support networks. It could be the family, the grandchildren. Men, on the other hand, if they lose their spouse, they become withdrawn. Particularly after retirement, they don't even have their office buddies. So I think men should dedicate a significant amount of time in developing these connections outside of home as well. Not just a spouse, it could be your racket sports buddies, or it could be your business buddies, people with whom you could be yourself and have a man thing and talk, so that that reinforces the community feeling. That is what men should work at. While that being said, the second thing we talked about is the social connections that we have. We have a lot of, there is an Instagram follower who has about 500,000 on Instagram following, but he may not even have 1 or 2 real friends in life. So his entire life is spent behind a wheel of deceit. I think having 3 or 5 meaningful connections is much better any day than this illusion or the social connections that we have, where We may have 1,000 or 1,000,000 followers, and still we don't connect with them meaningfully in any which way.
Now, you did a very smart thing in the book. You created a chapter which is like a summary or a gist or action items or a tool book, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And you call it, what are the Indian rules, the 21 rules that doctors feel if you follow, you will live till 100. So tell our viewers, what are those 21 rules?
So can I read from the book as well?
Sure. Your book, you wrote it, and I know the chapter name, so.
I'll pick it up at the end. So what I did by adding the 21 rules is something because I have the same problem. We were chatting up when you were on the flight as well, because when I start reading the papers, I always start from the last page. So I know of people who skip the entire book and come to the last chapter, which is why I added it in as a good summary. So if there are 21 rules that summarizes the entire book, those would be these. First is to walk 8,000 steps a day.
Next conversation, let's do walking.
Let us do walking. That will be amazing. Let us.
Yeah.
We can give the other people an exercise as well as
Yes.
they follow us. So one is walk. Get 8,000 steps a day. Second is to lift weights or do any sort of resistance training. Dumbbells are the elixir of youth or the fountain of youth. I think we should just pick it up. Eat enough protein. We are a protein deficient nation. We claim dal to be protein, but it's just
I read you explain that it is carbohydrate heavy.
So we have to consciously incorporate protein, particularly if you're a vegetarian. Your challenges
Tofu,
are
paneer.
Yes.
And then you talk of
Dahi.
Somewhere in between you talk of lentils like rajma, and
Yes.
kidney beans. And
Those work very well. So we need to prioritize our protein, and if for some reason we cannot get enough protein in our diet, we may have to supplement it with some protein powders. Whenever you start your meal, we should start with veggies first. So the sequence is VPC, or veggies followed by protein followed by carb. This reduces your sugar spike by half, because the vegetables that you eat in the beginning form a nice sieve through which the rest of the carbs have to pass through, and that reduces the sugar spike. So veggies always first. Respect the sunset. So the pancreas is a government employee, it goes home at 6 p.m. So nothing happens in a government place after 6. Imagine it is that. So no troubling your pancreas after 6 p.m. Finish your last meal by 7. Sleep is a non-negotiable. We need to get at least 8 hours of sleep. As we grow older, it might reduce by an hour or 2. Sugar is a recreational drug. The non-alcoholic fatty liver epidemic is fueled by high sugar colas and roadside lemonade shops, which just add heaps and heaps of sugar. I think we should have a sugar tax, which will save all of our livers.
sugar tax. Good.
We should have all of our livers. Social poisons, I think we should stay away from smoking
Liquor,
and alcohol.
smoking.
And the oil change, wherein we have to try and replace the inflammatory oils with better oils and reduce the amount of oil that we use in our cooking as well. Hydrate. As we wake up, we should start our day with not with our phones, but with 500 ml of water. And then as the day progresses, have at least 2 to 3 liters. That helps in flushing out all the bad stuff from the body. It also helps in keeping your body healthy. And get some, sorry, you were saying?
Go ahead.
And get some sun. What has happened is, in our quest for, I think, skin health or beauty, we have stopped going out into the sun altogether.
So we're vitamin D deficient.
Absolutely. We're a nation of chronically deficient vitamin D people. And I've seen people who are very happy to run in the gym, but would say no to running on the beach, where we get sunlight. And sunlight is the best doctor, and he's available for free consultation. I don't understand why we won't use him. So that is that. And sit on the floor. If you're watching television or any other thing, if you can sit cross-legged, starting from an early age, I think we can do better as we age. Our mobility and flexibility can be better. Floss. We brush twice a day, but we don't floss. I think flossing is very important because it keeps out all the harmful bacteria in the mouth. And oral health is directly tied to heart health, because the bacteria that are found in diseased gums are also the ones that have been found to be in diseased hearts. Detox your environment. I don't know how we could detox the Delhi air, But we can try to detox the environment as much as possible by using the right utensils, throwing away the non-sticks and using cast iron, or stop reheating food in plastics in microwaves, or aluminum foils, avoiding those, or switching to glass and iron instead of some other toxic cookware. Next is to preserve the cognition. We have to be a learning machine. We have to learn a new skill, new language, have a purpose, and keep a lot of friends. So that keeps our brain sharp and it stays with us long.
Social connection is very important.
Absolutely.
Relationships are important. Let me ask you on the role of supplements, like they say magnesium is very important for sleep and so on and so forth. Of course, you should look at your body markers, get an expert's view, whether it's your nutritional therapist or a doctor.
Right.
But give us in general what supplements are useful if you're 50.
So I would probably divide supplements into 3 categories. The third category is downright dangerous, which is the fat burners and detox teas. I would say there are a lot more people who have had bad effects because of that. So these are the no-go supplements. Don't go, they are harmful, they may kill you. The category 2 supplements are that it work in some people but may not work in some other people, like magnesium and so on. But there are supplements that are proven to work in a large number of people, and there is solid evidence behind that. Those would be things like your vitamin D, B12 in deficient people, iron and folic acid in pregnant women, in people with anemia, and so on. Boring supplements, but they work the best in the most number of people. Even for sleep, a lot of people are popping magnesium. That is again a category 2. Unless you've seen a sleep therapist or a sleep physician and he suggested magnesium, still the better way to go is to try all the other things that I mentioned about.
Sure. Now, also some of the nutritional therapists say they put olive oil because it helps the heart. It doesn't let your arteries get plaque, so to say, clogged. It helps in unclogging arteries.
Right.
What's your view on that?
So I would rate drizzling of an olive oil on top of something. That's a different thing. Cooking in olive oil is a different thing.
No, not cooking. Cooking
Right.
in olive oil is destroying olive oil.
You're talking about
of
having
extra virgin olive oil on, say, a salad or something.
I would say once in a. I mean, it is not. I wouldn't put that over and above our Indian oils like groundnut or mustard. It is definitely better than seed oils. But you can't use olive oil for cooking. The average Indian cannot do that.
No, I'm not talking cooking. I'm talking of
drizzling.
extra virgin
yes.
olive oil on your salad or on your chicken.
So then the caveat should be not more than 3 spoons of oil the whole day. So how much we drizzle also adds to our calories.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, I also want to talk to you about there are drugs like Ozempic and there are other weight loss drugs and they have side effects. Everything in life is about trade-offs.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to say to our viewers about that?
So the GLP drugs are in a way longevity drugs for that subset of population who are unable to lose weight due to various reasons. So where they would have died 20 years earlier, these GLP drugs are offering them a new lease of life, which means they can safely reduce weight in that subset of population who cannot lose weight for some other reason or so. But the main problem is that while they are reducing weight, a large proportion of that weight also happens to be muscle. And we talked about how muscle is the is a fountain of youth, and that is very much required.
That's why you must eat proteins.
Yes, and workout. Eat
Sure.
protein, workout, so that the muscle stays with you.
And how would you rate yourself? Are you on your way to living till 100? Do you follow what you preach?
So I do a lot of things that I have written about. In fact, this was also a journey not just with my patients, with my own self over the past 6 or 7 years. And these are the concepts that have this a solid research backing as well. I play racket sports twice or thrice a week. I work out twice a week. I try to keep doing new things like writing books. Novelty, right?
Yeah, I
Shake
still
and
haven't
bake.
written a book. My daughter's written a book. I haven't yet written a book.
So I think we need to have that novelty.
Yeah, I love
Kuch to
reading
naya
books.
karna hai. Something, keep doing something
Yes.
new, and that keeps the brain fresh and young. And yeah, I try to get 8 hours of sleep, and my last meal at 7 p.m. I have my morning meal at 11.
And you don't drink.
I occasionally drink.
You say even wine is bad in your book.
So no, as a doctor, my advice is no amount of alcohol is safe.
Yes.
But Naveen, the individual, happens to enjoy the rare once in a while.
Sure. Now, I want to ask, I was thinking about it, the food in India changes every 100 kilometers, if not 60, 70 kilometers. The South Indian diet is very different. You talked about rice, and you clearly in the book say that one should take a bowl of
Right.
rice so that because if you put it directly on the plate, you will definitely eat more. And I was thinking it is so true. Because, we as North Indians eat a lot of rajma chawal,
Rajma chawal.
chawal, kidney beans and rice, or, and
It's
so,
impossible to measure.
give a
rice.
sense of when you look at people who come to you for advice who are South Indian and North Indian. I don't believe in, propagating stereotypes, but our foods are different broadly. And food is a big ingredient into how the body functions. So give us a sense of one or two interesting anecdotes when you've kind of advised people from different geographies and different walks of life.
Yes. So we have a lot of vegetarian South Indians, and their main misconception seems to be that I'm having a very sattvic, very culturally appropriate diet where I'm not having any animal protein at all, which means my body is clean and my arteries should be spick and span. But the unfortunate truth is they are not getting enough protein, and they would be chronically vitamin B12 deficient. Their homocysteine would have spiked, their inflammatory levels would have been high, and they would have plaques in their heart.
And how do you do away with plaques? Can you remove the plaques?
So we
if
have
you really become disciplined, lose weight, follow all those things, and really you're able to lose weight 15, 20 kgs, can you really do away with the plaque?
So what the losing weight and losing visceral fat and reducing your metabolic dysfunction can do is give you better lipid levels in the body. Your low density lipoprotein levels will come down, your high density lipoprotein levels will go up, triglycerides will come down. Now these are the building blocks of a plaque. So once a plaque has formed and has caused a certain amount of narrowing in your heart, the best drugs to reduce or reverse the plaques are statins. But doing all of this along with that is going to cause the plaques to shrink faster. So we should always think of it this way. After the disease has set in, all of these longevity tips that I say can reduce the amount of tablets that you take for your heart disease, the tablets that you take for hypertension, the tablets that you take for diabetes.
There's also a thyroid issue these days with a lot of people.
Yes.
How do you prevent that? Why is so much there's thyroid deficiency in people?
Quite a lot of thyroid issues come in women again. Women are blessed in one way because up until 50 they have great health metrics because estrogen is protecting them from the inside, like one Durga Devi. I think the men don't have that. We have testosterone, which means our risk of heart disease and diabetes is way high prior to our 50s. But what happens unfortunately in women is the protection of the mother goddess estrogen goes away after the menopause, and then their risk of heart disease and diabetes skyrockets overnight to match that of men, which is why we see a spate of heart attacks and strokes in women immediately after menopause. So when we talk about, so women are blessed because they have estrogen as a protector, but they also have a very hyper vigilant immune system, which keeps most of the diseases at bay. This is a two-edged sword because the immune system that keeps away the bad stuff can also become hyper vigilant and start attacking their own body, which is what we call as autoimmune diseases. Thyroid diseases and autoimmune diseases are 2 times or 3 times more in women than men because they have a hyper vigilant immune system.
Sure.
And these autoimmune diseases are also increasing over a period of time that we see now. Because we are picking these things up early, we didn't used to pick it up before. A lot more people are having health checkups now, but they can all be safely managed with the drugs that we have and the medicine that we have.
And let me end by asking, who do you look up to in terms of somebody who's contributed to the longevity ecosystem knowledge? I mean, you talked about Brian Johnson, right? The one person I'd love to talk to is Matthew Walker, who wrote Why We Sleep. That was a book I read 10, 12 years back. Right. Luckily, I always sleep well. but almost always sleep well. But
so one of the persons that I look up to is Dr. Robert Lufkin, who is a longevity expert, a New York Times bestseller, and he's also written the foreword for my book. He's a great guy in that he doesn't talk about fancy stuff. So I take most of my fundamental things from him. He talks about foundational things. He talks about the basic things that are non-negotiable for people to change before they look at the top 1% of biohacks and everything else. So he's been a great influence on how I approach longevity as well. In India, I admire a lot of sports persons, but yet to find someone whom I really want to look up to in India.
I look up to Khalli, the wrestler. He's 6 foot 6 inches tall, clearly. But on a very serious note, I want to ask you that you're a practitioner, now an author. Is there a bucket list you have? You're advising startups.
So,
What's your life's mission?
So, Dr. Batra, I started writing this book because there was a friend of mine who wrote a book on hospital management after getting grade 4 colon cancer. I asked him, the doctor said you had 6 months to live. What made you start writing a book that would take 2 or 3 years when you knew the diagnosis? He said, we go into a theater, we sit in a movie, and by the start of the movie they say it's 2.5 hour movie. At 40 minutes they put down the screen and they say the movie show is over, get out. So at that time I think that was the moment that I had in my life. What did I contribute to in this world? So I feel the NCD problem that India is staring at is huge. I wanted to make some sort of a meaningful intervention, a dent at least, as much as I could in this. And most doctors just treat patients with tablets and drugs. Most don't have the time to speak to people on
I think conversation is very important. My late mother, she died 21 months back. Right. You know, if I take her to a doctor, you know, what would give her more satisfaction and possibly healing would be the conversation with the doctor, apart from and if the doctor spent more time and more attention and patiently listened to her, she would come out of the consultations really happy.
So this book was my way of having a conversation with the millions of people out there, because I couldn't have a conversation with every single one, which is why it is done with sarcasm. It's like having a brother on your side who can put an arm around you and say like, this is right,
I'm just thinking also a lot of men in India are having prostate issues. Why is that?
So prostate cancer is something, again, we have started screening for in men. Even though it's a slow growing cancer that doesn't contribute much to mortality in men as much as breast cancer and cervical cancer do in women, we have started screening more, which means we have started picking up prostate cancer also in a lot more.
But what are the reasons? For example, 15 years back, I met this person who ran the #1 laboratory in the country at that time, right, a diagnostics chain, right, and he said that the wheat is very adulterated, and Indians eat a lot of wheat and it sticks to the intestines and so on. So food is adulterated, he said, right? So I'm just saying that what are your top insights? Because you're a radiologist, and some you've already talked of, but give us some more insights.
Research-wise, we don't suffer from higher prostate cancer rates than the rest of the world. Research-wise, food additives have not been found to be a contributing cause to prostate cancer. Why we are picking up more prostate cancer is because we are screening more for prostate-specific antigen in all the health checkups in men.
Which was not happening earlier.
Exactly. So we have broadened the funnel, which is why we are getting a lot more people at a lot earlier stage.
And to stay on screening, because early detection is key. Which are the tests, say, a man who's 50 should do?
A man who is 50, we should start in the basic order, should have the blood lipids checked out, the lipid profile, thyroid profile, kidney function tests, renal function tests, should probably take a grip strength and go to a place where the metabolic functions can be marked out, where the inflammatory markers like HSCRP, CRP, ESR, homocysteine levels can be checked out, basic vitamin levels are checked out. For cancer, prostate-specific antigen to be checked for prostate cancer. These are the standard set of tests, but at 50, it would also help to have a colonoscopy in addition to all of these other tests.
Which means clearing the...
Yes, to have a look to see if there is any chance of your getting stomach cancer or colon cancer.
Beautiful. Dr. Gnanasekaran, Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran. Trust me, people who know me know that I buy a lot of books. I read a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I have read a lot of books on health. I need to follow better and practice better. But I enjoyed reading this book. It's a book I definitely recommend, and I know a bit about books. And at my conferences, I do recommend books. I'm going to recommend this. Thank you, Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran, for writing it.
Such a
I
pleasure.
thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure this book will be of some value and will galvanize people into action, because reading is one, implementing is another game. So I hope you are inspired for your own sake to practice the 21 steps that he's talking. He talks of a 30-day behavioral reset. And we'll end by asking him, how does that 30-day behavioral reset happens?
So, we all need rituals, and these are comfortable rituals into which we slip into, like how Dr. Batra, you mentioned that you wear a color on a different day, and this is a ritual with you, and this has stuck with you through the ages.
26 years.
Exactly. So what we are trying to have here is not to show health interventions as a chore. We are trying to introduce them as small,
A way of life.
Small way of life.
Part of your
Absolutely.
daily life.
Small, comfortable rituals that can be stacked one on top of the other as the day goes on.
First principles.
Yes. So the first week starts off with aligning your body with the circadian clock, wherein you wake up early.
And what is early?
Early is with the sun.
6:30 a.m.
Yes, with the sun. So I don't say
That
5:30.
means you have to sleep by 10:30 p.m.
Yes,
For
to get
you
your
to
8
get
hours,
8 hours.
8 hours of sleep. So getting up, and as soon as you get up, seeing the sun is a great way of resetting your circadian rhythm. And going to sleep early and finishing your meal with the sun is also a great way of aligning your body with the
By 7.
Yes, by 7.
6:47, depending on
6:47.
what the season is.
Right. So we start off with aligning this.
So you're saying the best time to eat is between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Yes.
If you cannot eat between 10
Yes.
and he talks about nuts and seeds. They also have proteins, but the proteins are less, but they're very good for heart and overall body.
Yes.
So go on.
Yes. So the first week is about aligning the circadian rhythm. It's a series of steps. The second week is about stacking on to whatever good work we did in the first week, which is your movement and muscle. So we start by saying aim to get 8,000 steps a day. And the easier way you can do it is after every meal, walk 1,000 steps. That in itself would get you 3,000. And consciously walk about when you are taking a call, or walk about maybe a short way after if you are using a car for commute. I do this. I ask the driver to let me off at the start of my street, so then I can walk up to my house, which is another 1,500 steps or so. So, so these are ways. So the second week is all about movement and muscle, whereby we start with simple exercises at home like the squats, the wall push-ups. We are getting them warmed up. And the third week is incorporating stretches and yoga practices, so that we add on flexibility and mobility to the muscle strength that we built in the previous week. And we also have that metabolic cleansing that is happening with the 7 p.m. fast, which we start incorporating in the third week, saying that after 7 p.m. no food, kitchen is closed, mouths are zipped, and morning you have to have only at this particular time. And then we start increasing the squats and the wall push-ups that the person did in week 2 by adding dumbbells to the routine, so that he can do simple dumbbell exercises at home. And the week 4 is adding to week 1, stacking on week 2, stacking on week 3, and the last week is about reinforcing these things, where we say you can skip one day, but if you can't skip 2 days. That is a new bad habit. So skipping is okay, but pick it up the very next day is what we
Consistency
Consistency
helps.
is key.
There is the power of compounding even in health. in good habits. So I wish myself and you that power of compounding consistency to live a life till 100. Thank you, Dr. Navin Gnanasekaran,
Such a
for
pleasure.
talking to BW Wellbeing World. I'm sure our viewers and readers will benefit from both your book and the conversation we've had.
Such a pleasure, Dr. Batra, for
God
having
bless.
me.
God bless you.